On the land and on the sea, from the Micronaut collection come alien war vehicles. Fantasy figures and vehicles each sold separately. There's Lobstros with claws that grip, and Sharkos, the alien sea cruiser, batteries not included. And this is Ampzilla. Standing like this, you can pretend he's a monster, but open the secret driver's seat and it's an alien vehicle. Ampzilla, Sharkos, Lobstros, and all figures each sold separately by Mego.
Hello and welcome to Mego Museum's Vintage Mego. This week we're going to go back to inner space, to the microverse, to look at the wonderful rarity known as Lobstros. While most of the Mego Micronauts items were produced in large quantities, Lobstros was created in 1980, which would be the final year for the toy line, and that's worthy of a little discussion. Mego licensed the Micronauts from Takara in 1976 and launched the brand to the toy marketplace in 1977, a time when Star Wars sent millions of kids looking for space toys, only to find an empty box and a promise, or these really cool Micronaut toys and vehicles. Mego had a new superstar in the marketplace, and by 1978, Micronauts was 20% of all sales. That's about $20 million. In 1979, the sales rose to 35%, which was now $33 million. But by 1980, despite Mego's sales still rising, the Micronauts sales had shrunk nearly in half to an estimated 12%, or $13 million. So what happened? Why did this hot-selling brand get cut short so quickly? Well, there's a number of reasons. Number one, the most important factor in the Micronauts' demise was the product mix in the figures and vehicles hadn't really changed much in 3 years, so old product was crowding out any new product. This has been a factor in a lot of toy lines' demise. You need to retire items and bring forward fresh waves, and one of the best companies to understand this, probably from hard lessons, would be Hasbro with the G.I. Joe Real American Hero brand. 2. In 1980, Mego invested heavily in several TV and movie science fiction properties, namely Disney's The Black Hole, Star Trek The Motion Picture, and Buck Rogers. There is only so much shelf space in the world, and unfortunately, those lines didn't sell as good as the Micronauts did. Not even in their final year did those lines outclass the Micronauts. Thirdly, I personally think another factor was the release of The Empire Strikes Back in May of that year. Kenner had a really expansive launch of merchandise. During the late 1970s, sales of Kenner's Star Wars line hit something of a lull, and it had many toy experts wondering if it was indeed a fluke or a fad that had ended. Well, 1980 proved that wrong, as the launch of the seminal film firmly established Star Wars as the toy property of 1980. This was the one to beat. So the 1980 Mego catalog has what can only be described as a heartbreaking amount of cool new Micronauts toys that, like Equestron or Iguanos, never saw production, or like Sharkos, Ampzilla, and our subject today, Lobstros, that saw extremely limited foreign release. Of the 5 vehicles proposed, only 3 were produced, and this is mainly due to Mego's foreign partners having to order with a letter of credit. If Grand Toys or GIG in Italy wanted to buy Micronauts, they had to guarantee payment, essentially. That's why Canada got humanoids and all of the Star Trek movie aliens. Equestron and Iguanos probably didn't get produced because they involved electronic moving parts, which have been costly to produce. Even though the vehicle was released into the country I live in, I never saw it at retail as a kid. I barely saw the second series Aliens. However, other Canadian collectors have told me they saw Ampzilla, Lobstros, and Sharkos lining store shelves. I wish I shopped at those stores. I managed to find mine from a Quebec toy dealer who had a large bin of Micronauts that he had bought at a garage sale. This was around 1997. In terms of packaging, while Mego re-enlisted artist Ken Kelly for the cards for the second series wave of Aliens, they decided not to use him for the second series of Alien vehicles and just use photographs instead. This is the number one reason that I've never gone after a boxed Lobstros. It just kind of pales next to something like the Terrafant or the Hornitroid, which look like epic album covers. Packaging-wise, Lobstros is mainly seen in his Italian GIG box, with a Mego version being much harder to find, and honestly, I've never seen one with the Grand Toys logo on it. I honestly think Grand just sold the Mego version. I was told by a former Grand executive that they had no problem releasing English-only packages into the Canadian marketplace, just as long as they kept it out of the French-speaking areas. After the demise of Micronauts, Mego sought to reuse the tooling into other brands and proposed a series of playsets and vehicles for Buck Rogers and the Pocket Superheroes, where Lobstros was rebranded the Claw, and Ampzilla was Ampzilla. It's a cool name. We just want to reuse that. Sadly, buyers weren't motivated to buy the Claw, and it was never released with a Pocket Superheroes package. That is a tragedy in itself. On the secondary market, Lobstros is considered the hardest to find Micronaut vehicle. This is probably due to the very easy-to-lose tendrils and cannons the figure has, so you can't find loose mint examples very easily. Do you weep for Equestron and Iguanos? Do you love Lobstros or Ampzilla? Let me know in the comments below. You can hit us up in our official Facebook group, Megomania, or at the forums at megomuseum.com. There's no wrong way to do this. I'd love to hear your feedback. Thanks for watching, and if you're new to this, please hit like and subscribe to our channel. We do this all the time. Until next week, take care.